Hey everybody, Jeffrey Geniak here, and this is lesson 6 of 7. This is clearing your path. And the examples I'm going to give to you today are really going to be centered around prosperity, because our lesson 7 is called opening the doors to prosperity. And this is a technique that I'm going to give you right here. Simple, short and sweet technique to help clear your path to whatever blocks may be lurking in regards for you to increase your and balance your prosperity flow. This was an exercise that was given to me years ago by my mentor Elizabeth when I was struggling, and as I went through it I found that it just helped so much because listen, oftentimes we don't know what we don't know. We don't know where all our blocks are, and sometimes discovering where those blocks are is very difficult, and sometimes we may never even necessarily know where those blocks are, but we definitely need to get rid of them. And so the technique that Elizabeth gave me is this technique that can help you discover where your blocks are. But even if you don't really ever consciously know what they are, this technique can help you clear it because of what this technique is doing and how it's activating your brain, your subconscious mind over time. Okay, so let me tell you the goal that I worked with, or the affirmation statement that I worked with. Years ago when Elizabeth gave this to me, I was struggling with my expenses and my monthly income and having extra money, and there was a lot of blocks to prosperity. And she was just said, I want you to get through this, and we don't even have to know what they all are, but you definitely got to get through them. So this is what I want you to do. She gave me this whole exercise, and I've made a slight shift to it, but this is what it is basically. What you do is you pick a goal or an affirmation statement, and you write it down on paper 21 times a day for 30 days. And if something shows up in your life where you decide not to do it one of those days, consecutive, right? 21 times a day, every day, consecutively for 30 days. If something shows up in your life where you decide not to do it, or if you do it one time and it's incomplete, or you just forget to do it, what you have to do is you have to restart the process right from the beginning. Now, this is the thing that I love this. Every time I teach this technique, especially if I'm doing it live or on a webinar, and people will say, Jeff, this is just I don't understand how this helps. This is just too easy. I mean, I have enough self-discipline and will to do it. What's it going to take me 5 minutes a day, 7 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day? I could do this without even trying. And then I always say, well, go ahead, right? Pick a goal that's really important to you. Pick something that you want to work on that's really important to you. Write it out 21 times every single day for 30 consecutive days. And if you make it on your first round, congratulations, your blocks are cleared. You will have cleared any blocks, right? But if something comes up where you decide not to do it, or you do it incompletely, or you forget to do it, then there was a block there that you need to get through, and you got to start over and work you all the way through it. So this is how you do it, right? So you write it down. Do not type. Part of what makes this work is writing it down. Understand, writing, right, activates a lot of there's fine motor coordination here, which lights up, accesses different areas of the brain. As you see yourself writing and you're talking to yourself as you're writing whatever it is out, that involves, your internal auditory sense and your visual modalities in there as well. So you got your kinetic, your kinesthetic, your visual, your auditory modality, and you're writing this down over and over again. That begins to access various aspects of your subconscious and conscious minds. So you have multiple subconscious minds and conscious minds. This is activating and engaging all of it. It's letting you know that you are very, very serious about whatever it is you're writing down, because you're writing it down 21 times a day for 30 days straight. It sends a very clear message to your subconscious mind that this is really important to you, and that you have to clear, and you want to clear anything that may be stopping this from coming to fruition. That's how this works. And so when something does get in the way of this happening, that's a block that comes up. And you don't have to know what that block is. All you have to do is restart and get through it. And if you get past that day where you were stopped, it means you've cleared that block. And if you get to day 30, that means you've cleared, a lot of the blocks, or many of the blocks that may be associated with that goal or that statement. And so let me give you an example of what I worked with. At the time, I was struggling with various aspects of prosperity. And, Elizabeth worked with me, and this is the goal or the affirmation statement that I worked with. And you're welcome to use it, by the way. I said, easily, my income exceeds my expenses each and every month. Let me say that again. Easily, my income exceeds my expenses each and every month. I love that goal. I mean, think about it. If that remains true for the rest of your life, or anybody's life for that matter, then you never have to worry about money, right? If your expenses always exceed, right? If your income, pardon me, let me say this again. If your income always exceeds your expenses every single month, that means there's more left over every single month, and that just keeps growing and growing and growing. You'll never have to worry about anything money-wise again, right? So, I mean, I'll encourage you to evolve your goals and your affirmations to be even better over time. But that's such a beautiful starting point. That's what I did. And so it took me 3 months to get to 30 consecutive days with that. There was always something happened where and I thought probably the same thing you're thinking right now. I thought, this is easy. I can do this no matter what. But there's something about writing it down, right, that sends and 21 times consecutively, it sends a very powerful message to your subconscious mind that says this is important to you. And if it's important to you, then we got to release whatever's in the way. And so what will happen, things will show up in your life. Things would show up where all of a sudden I had, like, let's say, a special event or a planning or a meeting that I had to go to, or I had to get on a plane, or whatever it was. Strange things would pop up that would get in the way of me completing this activity. And they would force me to restart and do it again. And, this kind of thing will happen, especially to help clear the blocks. Pardon me there. So one of the things that you can do, though, to discover what the blocks are, is that if something shows up that gets in your way, on that particular day, whatever it was, reflect on that day. Reflect what was going through your mind. Ask yourself the next day when you're restarting your 30 days, ask yourself, what was happening in my life? What kind of emotional things were going on? What caused me to forget? What showed up that forced me to do this incompletely or to skip it? And that will give you some insights onto maybe some of the ways that you were blocked. Now, like I said, that's part of this that helps you discover what those blocks may be. And then if you discover something specifically about yourself, what that block is, you can work on that using a different modality, maybe some passive brain fitness technology, an EFT or a protocol or whatever it is, right? You can work on that specifically if you realize it consciously. If you don't, that's okay. You just restart, and when you get past that day that stopped you, then that block is clear, right? That's just how the process works. It's very simple. It's very easy, and also surprisingly challenging in some ways, because things will come up. Now, even if you complete 30 days straight, and you do it, pretty easily, there will be days where it's challenging. There will be days it'll surprise you. You'll go, oh, I almost forgot. Oh, I got to get this done. Right? On those days that you find it challenging for whatever reason, I want you to self-reflect. Think about it. Think about it. What was that day? What was the message of that day? What was the importance of that day? What went on in your life that caused this, even though you remember to do it, even though you did it, what was it about that day? What was going on in your mind? What was going on in your life? What was going on in your family environment, your home environment, your work environment, your relationships that almost caused you to miss it, or made that day challenging? Right? I want you to think about it. That'll give you some insights into maybe some of the things that are blocking that specific goal. And for me, again, it was prosperity. And it's interesting when you go through this process. Even when it took me 3 months to do it, even though when I did it 30 days straight, there were days that were challenging. And it's interesting, some of the stuff that came up as I was reflecting on the days that were challenging. And sometimes there was things that were completely unrelated to prosperity, or at least I thought were unrelated to prosperity. The aspects of my health, or aspects of my family environment, my home relationships, or, different things that were going on. Because, the reality is that all these things are related. Everything in life is related in one way or another. Nothing exists in a vacuum. I always love that statement, by the way, because the definition of a vacuum is nothing, right? So it's a play on word. Nothing exists in a vacuum, right? Anyway, I digress. All these things are connected in life, right? And so, just be self-reflective in doing this activity. And make sure you're writing it down instead of typing it. Now, let me give you one variation. I've been teaching this for years because it was so very helpful to me, and it'll help clear some things for you. It'll help you discover your blocks where you can use different strategies. And even if you don't know it's specifically what they are, if you just get past that day that stopped you, the block will have been cleared. In teaching this, though, I've discovered some people, for whatever reason, can't write. Right? Maybe they've got an injured hand, or maybe there's arthritis, or there's some condition, right? So I've come up with a variation of this exercise that will continue to work for you. And what you do is, instead of writing it down, you visualize. Now pick one or the other, right? You're not going to switch back and forth. If you commit to doing it writing, you write it 30 days and you stick with it. If you decide not to do it, you start to do the visualization process, you stick with the visualization process, okay? So what you do is you spend 5 to 10 minutes, a day visualizing your affirmation statement becoming a reality, okay? So for instance, in the one easily, my income exceeds my expenses each and every single month, right? What I would do if I was going to, if I couldn't write it out, I would just spend 10 minutes visualizing, myself paying all the bills, all the expenses, and noticing that there was money left over in my account. And then then I would, that would only take me about a minute to visualize, not even. But then I would visualize it, but I want to do this for 10 minutes, right? So I visualize the next month it happening again. And then this time there's more money left over in my account. And then as I'm visualizing this, I'm tying in all my senses, right? Maybe I visualize myself showing my wife my bank account, going, look how much it's growing, right? So what you do is you visualize, get all your senses, all your emotions involved. And you do that every day for 30 consecutive days. And if you miss, right, and make sure, if you say you're going to do it for 5 minutes, do it for 5 minutes. If you say you're going to do it for 7 minutes, do it for 7 minutes. 10 minutes, 10 minutes. And you stick to it, right? If you decide on 7 minutes and something happens and you only do it for 3 one day, then you have to start from the beginning, right? So if you're going to do the visualization method, I prefer the writing method because of the kind of the way it activates the brain. But if you do the visualization properly, it's beautiful. It will absolutely work for you. But you've got to be more specific on the parameters. You say, I'm going to do it 5 minutes a day. I'm going to do it 30 consecutive days. And you've got to time yourself. Make sure you hit that 5 minutes, because if you don't hit the 5 minutes, that means it's incomplete. And you got to start over, right? You just got to, if you choose the visualization method, you just have to be a little bit more specific about the parameters which equal your success. So choose a minimum of 5 minutes, maximum 10 minutes, and you're good to go with the visualization method, right? Okay, so if you have any questions about this, reach out to the support desk. We'll be happy to help you out. There should be a link on the emails that we send out to the support desk, and we're always there. Sometimes we're busier, and sometimes on the weekend we take a little bit more time, but we'll always do the best to get back to you. All right, thanks so much, and until next time, have a beautiful day.